Get your glow up. One time.
Hey everybody, it is your girl Rhea Ray Harris Yarbrough coming to you on the Quintessential Queen Show on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartRadio station. I've been out of the studio for a little bit, so I'm a little rusty, but I'm jumping back into the saddle with a real show today. So, for those of you that are familiar with the Chicagoland area, we have a village called Dolton. Now, let me read you a little bit of history because you know I do my research. Dolton was incorporated as a village in 1892, and it is a south suburb of Chicago within the boundaries of Cook County. It has a population of approximately 21,000 people per the 2020 census. And the motto is a community working together. Mm. Well, we're having a little bit of problem with the motto as far as the community doesn't seem to be working together. I'm going to introduce my two guests here. I have to my immediate right, let me say it right, Sherry Hatcher Britton, who is the former assistant to the fire chief of Dolton,
Yes, that is correct.
and Miss Thelma Price, who is a friend of mine, who is a 17-year Dolton resident. How are both of you
Hi.
today?
Hey there, I'm great.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Quintessential Queen Show. Let me give a little bit more background because I really have some questions. The current mayor is named Tiffany Henyard. Now, I did not invite anyone from her office to be on the show today because I want to talk to you all first. And if anyone from that administration's office wants to be on the Quintessential Queen Show, reach out to me. But I'm going to give my people their conversations now. Now, she has been the mayor since 2021 and the Thornton Township supervisor since 2022. Previously, she served 2 terms as a member of the Dolton Village Board of Trustees from 2013 through 2021. And she was elected to all of those positions except the Thornton Township supervisor's position, which was appointed. I have been seeing Facebook posts, my phone dings all day with news from Dolton, all of this. Let me get some basic information out there, and then we're going to have our conversation. From what I understand and have seen, the allegations against Tiffany Henyard are financial mismanagement, fraud, and corruption. Now, I've seen videos on the news, I've seen Facebook Lives, I've seen everything, folks coming out to the meetings. For those of you that are familiar with smaller jurisdictions, they tend to have more populated meetings because the community is a little more involved versus Chicago. But recently, every Dolton meeting I've seen on the news, and mind you, it's on the news, has been combustible. That's the word I'm going to use. I've seen the police had to come in. I've seen so many things that were just shocking to me because having grown up in Chicago and being very familiar with Dolton, it's maybe 20 minutes from my house. I didn't hear anything about Dolton until recently under this administration. So I want both of you to give me a little bit of background as to what's going on and why and what you would like to see happen for the future of Dolton and its residents. We'll start with you, Miss Sherry.
Okay, what's actually going on is Tiffany Mayor Henyard wants everything to be what her narrative is. So, like when you say the meetings are combustive, or they're just really rough to get through. The police are there because she needs them there to control her narrative. They don't want to answer questions. So the police are there to violate your civil rights. You be quiet. You don't ask any questions. You do exactly what I want you to do. So
I want to stop you right there
Mhm.
because I have a question that I'm
Mhm.
sure if someone else is listening or watching,
Absolutely.
they are going to have the same question. What exactly is this narrative that Mayor Henyard is putting out that needs other people to be quiet? So that's
Mhm.
why she has the police. What is the narrative?
So the narrative is the board of trustees are the ones not paying the bills. She needs people to believe that when in fact it's her administration. They've spent all the money. They don't want to open the books for the board to see. And the vendors that she hires without getting any kind of RFPs or anything. Um,
For people in the cheap sheets, what are RFPs?
well, you could just a bid, basically.
Okay, so you're saying it's
Mhm.
not an open, transparent process to get contracts with the village of Dolton.
Absolutely. You just
Okay.
you if she like there may be 7, 8, maybe 9 tree cutting companies. None of these people have contracts with the village. She'll just say, "Hey, come cut trees," and then you get 7, 8, 9 different contractors that are cutting trees, giving the village of Dalton a bill from anywhere from 20,000 to $150,000 every month. So we don't have a budget. It's not budgeted to spend $500,000 a month on trees. You know what I'm saying? So the narrative is I do what I want and you guys just have to deal with it. If let's say the village has a budget of $30 million, she doesn't look at it as each department can only spend so much money. She looks at it as I have $30 million to spend and I'm gonna spend it however I want to spend it. I'm not gonna ask the community anything. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do.
Okay, Miss Thelma,
Yes.
having been a long-term resident,
Mhm.
what was the first indication? Because with her having been elected to her first position in 2013, plus in looking at her history, she grew up in Dolton. She went to school in the area and all that. So she's not someone that is like new to the area. When was the warning sign that something here isn't right? When did the community first start questioning what's going on in our village?
When we kept going to meetings and we could never get any answers about our money.
Thelma, move up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So you said you could not get any answers in regards
Answers.
to how the money was being spent.
And we couldn't get any answers, and it's no transparency whatsoever, you know.
How far in her administrative time was that happening? When did you all first recognize it? Yes, Miss Sherry.
Go ahead.
Day one.
Day one. Okay. So now in 2013, when she first got her position, albeit not mayor,
Mhm.
what did it look like as far as her representation then compared to now? Because I have to believe, but correct me if I'm wrong, that she was elected because she apparently was doing a good job initially with her other jobs that she had been elected to. So what happened between 2013 and now to make you go, wait a minute, there's a problem? So what was she like initially?
I can answer that. So she was a little rough around the edges as a trustee, but we didn't see the tendencies of the commingling money and the non-transparency and all of that stuff going on. She would ask some hard questions, albeit was a little bit disrespectful the way she did it. As a trustee, she would ask the former mayor some real reasonable questions. And if you I know you've looked at videos where you see her as a trustee versus her as a mayor, the same things that she was getting on him about, she's doing now. So basically, she came in and she bamboozled everyone.
So when she was in the other seat,
Hmm.
she was questioning that mayor about his spending
Absolutely.
Yes.
and his administration.
Absolutely. His transparency, all of it.
Okay. And so it looked to the average person that here's somebody that knows where we're coming from because she's making those same questions, asking those same questions that we have.
Well, you could say that. For me, it was the lesser of two evils, what I thought.
Okay, now she was running against the person that she challenged at that
Absolutely.
time. Okay.
Along with Andrew Holmes. Hmm.
Okay, and I'm familiar with his name also, and I'll come back to him.
Hmm.
So at the time it was a 3-person race.
Four.
Four.
Former Shaw, was it William or Bill? One of the, and but
One of the Shaw
yeah,
brothers.
he did pass shortly after the election.
Okay.
But there were four. But in actuality, it was a, you could say it was a 3-man race, and it was almost dead even between Andrew Holmes, Riley Rogers, and Tiffany. So when she says that she won by 82% of the vote, 82% of the general election, which she should have won 100% because there was a write-in. There's no way that write-in should have got like 500 votes. So she only really won by 100 votes because the
Okay.
primary sets the I mean, whoever wins the primary is going to be the mayor in a predominantly Democratic town.
Okay, and especially one, again, you're not talking about a Chicago where there are
Right.
millions of people. You're talking about 21,000
Right.
people.
So when I moved to Dolton, it was a little over 25,000 people because I've been there for 25 years.
Okay.
So absolutely, the population has gone down. The voter turnout was very, very low. Just like it was in all, I mean, Lansing, Illinois, they had like 8% turnout at that
Slow.
vote. So that was the problem. You know, a lot of people didn't want to vote for her. But we knew some things and we just weren't happy with Riley Rogers either. And we thought she would listen. She had a team of people around her in the beginning. And then she just flipped the switch.
What was the difference from the initial team
Mm-hmm.
to where we are now? Again, because even though, like you said, initially
Mm-hmm.
in 2013, she was a little rough around the edges from
Absolutely.
what people felt, but she still was representing the masses. Now, when she got elected in 2021, she had a team around her that you felt were more receptive to the community.
Well, let me just say this, the team that helped to get her elected, as soon as she was elected, she stopped speaking to those people. She cut everybody off, and then she went with an alternative team. And as a community, and I was actually one of the people who spearheaded to get rid of former circuit court clerk Dorothy Brown. She came out and she was a part of Tiffany's team. First she was saying, oh, she's just helping me with the campaign, oh, she's just helping me like get it transition. And we knew that she was going to make her the village administrator. No, we weren't having that. So I got a group of people together and we went out and we protested at Village Hall. It was only like a couple dozen people, and we asked her to resign, and she did. Within the month she resigned. She was gone before the end of the year of 2021. So I want to say she left in December of 2021.
Okay.
So and then she brought in this Keith Freeman, who is I truly believe is the author of all of the chaos in Dolton, because Tiffany, you know, I don't want to say she's not that smart, but she's not that smart. So he is the one who's the train. He's the engine to this train, helping her do the things that she's doing, like not responding to FOIAs. Dolton is in grave danger of being sued by hundreds of people because we have over 300, not 30, 300 FOIAs that have not been answered because he's decided that he's not going to answer them. And they basically hijacked the clerk's office. So they don't even know, the clerk of Dolton can't even tell you how many lawsuits are happening and when they're coming in because she doesn't get the mail.
For those of you that don't know what a FOIA is, it's a Freedom of Information Act.
Yes.
So what do you feel that a lot of the FOIAs are requesting? What information are they looking for?
You know, it could be anything, but I believe a lot of it is financials. I've sent FOIAs and they haven't been answered from both her positions as the Thornton Township supervisor, where he is also her lead consultant. For Keith Freeman is her consultant there. They're saying now he may be transitioning out. And then as the village administrator in Dolton, I mean, they did the similar thing to the tax assessor in Thornton Township that they did to our clerk. They hijacked the office and they don't give people what they ask for.
I'm going to come back to that. Miss Thelma,
Yes.
what, as a resident, was the quality of life 10 years ago compared to now
Oh, wow.
in Dolton?
I mean, when I first moved out in Dalton, it was just beautiful. The crime rate, we had one year where we only had one homicide. So that's huge to have a
Absolutely.
town to have only one homicide. And it was just beautiful place. It's still a beautiful place to be at. It's just we got the wrong person over our town.
So let's say it's me. Now I'm looking at this. Now I'm going to come to you as a realtor.
Hmm.
So, because I'm a
Yes,
realtor.
yes.
And if I have a client who wants to see a property in Dolton, I'm going to show them a property in Dolton. Because typically what I do, let's say you're my client, you're my buyer, and we go to a house you would like to see. If there's somebody outside, I go and introduce myself. Hi, my name is Rhea Harris. I'm with Suite 527 Realty Group, and my client is interested in this house. How long have you lived next door? And
Mhm.
that starts a conversation. If I were to come to you and say, hey, Miss Thelma, my name is Rhea Harris. I'm with Suite 527 Realty Group. My client, Miss Sherry, was interested in this house next door to you. How do you like Dolton? What would you say?
Well, I still, I love my community. I'm never gonna turn people away from buying into Dalton. I would never do that because it's a beautiful community. But I do explain that we do have some things going on as far as with leadership in Dalton. But as far as discouraging people, I would never do that. It's a beautiful place to be.
And I appreciate that because some people say, girl, get your stuff and run.
But now with these
They do.
taxes and it's hard.
Now, and that was going to be my next question. So I'm glad you segued right into that. With the current administration having the spending issues that you all are
Okay.
indicating, how is that impacting your tax base? And by that, I mean your property taxes. Do either of you know?
So Cook County has an issue, and that's a Fitzcagey issue, actually, with these doubling of the taxes. Um, I have a 1,247 square foot home, no basement. There's no way my one tax bill should be almost $4,000,
Wow.
and it's never been like that. Okay, in 25 years I've never seen it. It just blew my mind. We just think that people should appeal, but as far as our taxes, and what comes in to Dalton, yeah, we're gonna have to experience some tax hikes because she is literally bankrupting us. In September of 2023, that was the last time the board actually got all of the financials. She is literally not showing them the financials. She was ordered by the courts to allow the clerk to be back on the bank account, and they're still playing games. Recently, there was a freeze on one of our bank accounts, and I want to say it was the main bank account for $440,000. But what people didn't know, it was only $809,000 in that account. You had payroll coming up. I'm sure they had to move money and everything else just to make payroll. I mean, our taxes, we owe our fire department, and it's not just the fire department. So let me clear that up. The fire department is the only one that's spoke up. Shout out to Local 3766 because they did their thing when they showed up and they told the truth. But it's happening in public works. It's happening in the police department, but the police department, she's using them, so they're not going to say anything. They're going to do what she says. So it's going to affect our taxes because when you don't have contracts for 4 or 5 years, raises and everything else, um, you're going to experience higher taxes. And also, what people don't understand, we have issues with our water. Our water bills are crazy out of control, not because the consumptions of the water is high, it's because of the improper and incorrect billing. As a community, we only pay like $5.60 per unit. Average is $8.60 per unit. So we'll need to increase the water fees, but the residents aren't gonna they're gonna be like, that's crazy. But in actuality, we're not paying a lot for water. We're paying high bills because they're wrong bills.
When you say that, explain a unit.
Hmm.
So, how much does a typical Dalton household use in units of water, for example, a month?
So it just depends. You really can't say that, but how I'll do this is, okay, they have estimated bills. And the estimated bill is when they don't read your meter or can't read your meter. The average is supposed to be 10 consumptions, right?
Okay.
So they'll give you an estimated bill of 10 consumptions. Um, and I think that's about average. So an estimated bill should be, and we get ours quarterly, correct?
Correct.
So an estimated bill would be around $150 for 3 months. But people are getting three, four, $5,000 water bills, all kinds of
Wow.
things. And then they'll send the bills out. Your bill is due on the 12th, you'll get it on the 10th.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So the water department which is also our payment center, is all screwed up. Um, it needs to be overhauled. But when you put people in there that don't have a clue and they're just doing what your village administrator tells them to do because they need to keep a job, we're screwed. So it's just a whole overhaul that needs to happen. And she wants to put up smoke and mirrors by having parties on her ice skating rink that nobody asked for.
And I saw the ice skating weekend. I'm not against ice skating per se. I don't like to be cold under any conditions if I can help it.
Black
it-
folks don't ice skate
It
like
converts
that.
into a rolling rink too in the summertime.
Okay, so
That's
it's
what she
a-
said.
okay. So I was saying, I was wondering about how much use it was going to have, but when you have, to me, budgetary issues that are more for the functioning
Mhm.
necessary parts of any situation, in particular in government, police, firefighters, ambulance services, etc., I would think that money needs to be spent there versus something of this nature. Now, I might be wrong, but that's how I would look at it.
You're not wrong.
Okay, because I'm like, Now, you mentioned Andrew Holmes, who I saw a few articles about Mr. Holmes that floated past my timeline. And if I understand correctly, he's currently in a legal situation.
Yes.
He's being accused of sexual harassment,
Sexual assault.
assault. All right. Now, he was a part of this administration as well.
He is a current trustee for the village of Dolton, yes.
So
Second term.
Is he an active? Is he, sometimes they'll tell you, okay, you have to take a paid leave of absence or any of that. Is he still able to come to meetings?
He is. He missed a few meetings, and I think because people were saying, "Where is Andrew Holmes?" He showed up. He shows up, and you barely hear him vote. He just votes with her. He doesn't pay attention. He just sits there and looks
He doesn't
crazy.
even live in Dalton. He shouldn't even be a trustee.
Okay, rewind.
Mhm.
Let me go a whole. Let me
I'm
have a
sorry I
whole.
blurted
Oh
that
no,
out. It made me
no,
kind of
no. Because
mad.
that's important.
So yeah, but he's got a way. He lives with his girlfriend. And quite ironically, Miss Tiffany Henyard actually tried to get him booted from the ballot the first time he ran because he did not live in Dalton. From my understanding, he went and got an ID and bought a village window sticker, and the former trustee and the former clerk, Mary Kay Dugan and Riley Rogers, pushed it through because they were on the election board in Dalton together. And so Tiffany fought that. She was the third person on the board. She fought it and she lost it, and they let him run. And he was going to win because people would see him on
In
TV
Chicago.
saying,
Yes, because I would see him
turn
quite
yourself in.
often
Hmm.
with victims of gun violence,
Absolutely.
etc. So his name is familiar, even if you don't really know his quote unquote politics. You know his name.
Yes.
But you see him. You see him.
Yeah, I would see
Mhm.
him next to families, and that's what I'm saying. As
Yes.
that's not politics though. That is tragedy. That is grief.
Absolutely.
And when you see a person standing in that capacity,
Mhm.
some people would make the assumption
Mhm.
that you're dealing with a righteous person.
Well, yeah, but when he became a trustee in Dalton, he wasn't standing with families. When Alexis Wilson was gunned down by Dolton police, he really wasn't there. And when people were asking that question, I mean, he showed up to her house maybe months later on the ring camera because she actually put that it was put out. I'm not gonna say she put it out, the mother, but he doesn't show up very often in Dalton, and we've had quite a few tragic things happen in Dalton with families, that you don't see him there in Dalton, and supposedly he lives in Dalton, and that's who you take care of first. You're gonna always take care of your home first.
You see, I'm just like, oh my goodness, Miss Thelma,
So much to unpack.
it is so much to unpack.
Yes.
But in dealing with this, because in this whole area, violence is a big concern. Now, you mentioned that there was a point where there was only one homicide in the entire year. What do you remember what year that was in Dalton?
What you say, 16? Around
2016.
around
You know what?
2016.
I
It
don't
was during
recall.
Rogers when he was the mayor when
Okay.
that happened.
So,
Yeah.
what has been, as far as, in my opinion, some of the residual negative effects of this situation? Have you seen an increase in
Oh
crime?
yes.
Have you seen an increase in taxes? I remember actually, because I'm on nextdoor.com, and I don't know how I get into other communities or how I get their information, but sometimes you get a bunch of things, a bunch of posts from places that you don't actually reside. And I saw something from Dalton, and the person was saying that some unknown party set their garage on fire, prankster, whatever. And the Dawson Fire Department came out and put the fire out. But then the person got a bill for the fire department having to come to put out the fire. And I'm like, a bill? And I thought, then aren't your taxes paying for the fire department? Why are you getting an additional bill? So, and this was in 2024. So this was not like long time ago. This is recent. And so even then I was questioning what's happening with the money in Dalton, and how is it that the community people are not able to be heard to the point that you have questions about the budgets and no answers?
Well, if you look at what we've been going through, and I will say that mainstream media, social media, and all that is fairly new to them. Like maybe what 6 to 8 months, maybe. But Miss Thelma, she can attest to the fact that I have personally been on this for 3 plus years. So
From the beginning.
On the
mhm,
ground.
on the ground, getting information, having information, people calling me. My phone starts ringing at 6:30 in the morning every single day. Every
What are
single day.
people asking
They're
for?
asking me, what's going on, Sherry? Why isn't anybody doing anything? Who's protecting her now is the thing, because obviously she's being protected. There's no way that all this could be happening and she could just openly do the things that she's doing now. January 3rd, she did a Facebook Live rant on the Village of Dalton, not her personal, but the Village of Dalton's Facebook page. And she was ranting about how the school board wouldn't allow her to do fireworks and have her per party, because that's all she does. And don't get me wrong, everybody wants to have a 4th of July party.
I
But
actually don't. But
yeah,
go
but
ahead.
a lot of people do. I would prefer Juneteenth, but again, she wants to have a party. She was told by the school board president, and I know because I talked to the school board president, that they were having construction at the school. They're getting a new roof. They're doing a lot of different things. So actually, they didn't even have summer school at the school. They went to another school within District 205. She's known, I'll say maybe a month or two, that she could not do the fireworks there. So she waited until that day. She had a parade, and I believe that she was going to do it anyway, even though they told her not to. But the school board had a bunch of Cook County sheriffs sitting there waiting to block her off to not do it. So after this, She did the rant while she was supposed to be having the party with the kids. They set up in the middle of the street, put a bouncy house on a main street, closed it off to inconvenience people, and had a bubble machine. And she might have had 20 people there, 30 people. And she went on this tyrant. And then later that night, she called the school board president. We call her Mama Graham. And she's, why wouldn't you let me have my have my event, and you this is crazy, and I'm just gonna go on a tennis court and blow up these fireworks. It's recorded. I'll let you hear it when we're done. And I mean, that's like mental illness. That's crazy.
What is it that can change the trajectory of this situation? Because it's going down in flames
Yes,
fast.
it is.
Okay.
Because I see something now every day on my phone about Doltin.
Absolutely. So she needs to be indicted. And the village of Dolton did get subpoenas, and I'm sure you saw that. The police department, also the Thornton Township, they got subpoenas. Grand juries have been formed. So they got to interview all these people. They got to interview all of these vendors, all of these employees, some residents. And the people who are protecting her, you got to ask why. You got to ask, why is Kwame Raoul not doing anything when a town has over 300 unanswered Freedom of Information Act requests? So you
And
have
for
to
those of you
ask
that don't
yourself
know
that.
who Kwame Raoul is, he is the Illinois Attorney General.
Who is responsible for that FOIAs and for any Open Meetings Act violations. We got civil rights violations. We were told if we clap at a board meeting, we would get kicked out. They don't let people in. They only let a certain amount of people in, which is a violation of Open Meetings Act. Everybody should be able to come into that building and ask questions.
Is that based on space, or is it?
That's what she's trying to say. She had an area surveyed for a sitting area. It should be standing room only, and they should open up the basement
For the overflow.
And it's not handicap accessible. And not only that, what she'll do is she blocked off. Now, this last meeting, she did not block off the parking lot. She blocks off the parking lot. She blocks off private property across the street. She blocks the beginning of the block and the end of the block, so nobody can get through. So if you have a handicap, you can't even take an Uber and get dropped off at the front door. People have to start standing in line at 5:00, and the meeting is supposed to start at 6:30. But Tiffany is always late getting hair and makeup, so the meeting might not start until almost 7:00.
So you're expecting the elderly and the otherly abled to stand for almost 2 hours in a line?
I wasn't at that meeting, but everybody was live, so I watched it.
I saw your live, Miss Thelma.
Yes.
And now I've been to certain meetings as far as in Chicago. I've been to Board of Education meetings, etc., when my son was much younger. And there was a protocol to it, but they made sure that there was enough space for everyone. And they had a method by which everyone was allowed to speak, at least for a certain amount of time. Can Doltin residents speak at these meetings?
Yes.
Are there any meetings where you all can speak freely, even if you are saying something that may be contrary to what her administration's stance is?
Yes, we're able to speak. It's just that I hate that a lot of times they make us speak in the beginning, and a lot of times you need to go through the meeting to see. You don't have those questions that you should be answering because they make you speak about stuff in the very beginning. So
Okay.
the next meeting you have to remember, oh, they did this and that. Well,
So
let's talk about
the way it's
this.
set up is we're going to address last meeting's issues at the beginning of this meeting, and then we're going to do some more business and then you don't get
Right.
to address the current
Right. Something may come up
issues.
and you won't be able to bring it up. But what I would like to speak about, and I'm a breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
I have a big problem with her because she created a fake charity. And this charity was supposed to help people with breast cancer. Okay. You
Earl,
didn't
we got girl. Earl, we are doing the football timeout. Hold on, no,
Yeah.
don't switch off. How do you create a fake charity?
Well, she created this charity in hopes to help women with breast cancer because her mom had cancer.
Okay,
So also she got her board from the township to donate $10,000, which that was a conflict of interest. That should have never happened. That board shouldn't have never gave her money for her breast cancer.
so this is a
Um,
private venture of hers, an NFP.
Correct. And
Mhm.
everybody that's on the board is connected to the township in the village. Her boyfriend is on the board. Oh Lord. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
Thought I turned it off.
And so, what was this organization supposed to do specifically? It was supposed to
Turn that off.
specifically work for those with breast cancer and survivors.
Anyone that's going through cancer,
Okay,
to help you out. But the thing is, they go ahead.
help you out in what
As far
manner?
as financially, with wigs, with
Okay,
your medication, if you got people in your house taking care of you, they were supposed to help you
a
out with
stipend.
that. Yeah, like a stipend or something like that. But that
And what
never
happened?
happened. It was a fake charity. It never happened. She never helped anybody. Go ahead. Go
Didn't
jump
file
in.
anything with the state.
Right.
Also took
Now Kwame was
employees.
supposed to do something about
Wait,
that.
wait. So there has been money donated to this organization,
Yes.
and this organization did not file the proper state documents
Correct.
to state A, this is how much money we collected, and B, this is what we did with the money.
And it gets worse.
Go ahead.
Tell me.
So she took a bunch of employees and she spent close to $100,000 on a walk and bike ride to Springfield. They took a DJ. Michael Earhart was the DJ
That's to
on a
feed the hungry
homeless
gentleman.
guy. They took him on a flatbed and he was a DJ and they were going through the communities from Dolton to Springfield. They got
Doing
hotel
what?
rooms just to promote the charity. She said she was going to speak in Springfield on it, but they weren't in session. So they spent over 100,000 or almost $100,000 walking, riding bikes to Springfield with employees taking time off work. The code enforcement was there. The deputy police chief was there. Andrew Holmes, Stan Brown, both trustees. I don't was Stan a trustee? Had he won yet? I don't know, but he was there because he works for the township as well. Not to mention, you have people that work for the township and the village of Dolton in 80-hour positions. Both, like you, our housing director is her assistant or something at the township, but they're two 80-hour positions.
How do you
So
work one 80-hour position?
how do you work? Well,
Because I work
in
40
well,
hours is too
40,
much.
but 2 weeks. I mean, within a pay period. So they have they're
Okay.
full-time employees in both places. But these full-time employees in both places were on a trip to Springfield with her, and they were gone for what, 10 days?
Wait. See,
Hmm.
having been a government employee before
Hmm.
in
Me
my
too.
in my previous life,
Okay.
you can't work two full-time jobs.
In Tiffany land, you can.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have fraud,
Mhm.
mismanagement of
Commingling.
funding,
Mhm.
commingling of funding. We have a charity that is not a charity but has collected money as if it were a charity. Has anyone benefited from the charity?
No.
No, and Kwame was supposed to be looking into it, and
And it went
it
away.
disappeared.
Well,
And
he's doing. I mean, what he's gonna do is not gonna amount to anything. She's just gonna get a slap on the hand for that. And anything that she is outside of going to jail, anything that she does, we pay for it.
Because of the
because
fines are paid for by the tax
taxpayers.
base. Okay. I have a couple of more questions before we get off the air. Number one, and well, it's a two-part question. When is the next election for mayor? What year is that?
Okay, the primary is in February of 2025. The general is in April, and she will be removed from that seat. The new mayor will take his seat
yes,
in May of 2025. So we got
Are
about 10 months.
are there any viable persons interested in taking this job?
Jason House.
Jason House. Is there anyone else that has announced their candidacy?
I hope they don't.
But
But have they? No.
okay, so we don't know anyone besides Jason House that is going to run for mayor
That we know of. Yes.
as of
yes.
right now.
As of right now. And we need to not split votes up. So I would hope that people would be smart enough to um, know that he's been in the trenches with us, working and trying to get transparency and trying to get people paid. And, the public works, and like the supervisor for public works will get up and dog the board out when he is actively trying to get the public works people their money that they're owed. Is nuts.
Is Tiffany Henyard running again? Do we know?
Absolutely.
yes,
And she can, even if she gets indicted, she can still run. But I think that it will kind of cripple her when the indictments come down, because who's going to want to give her money?
When you say who's going to want to give her money, tell me what you mean.
Like, who would support her? Like, we need to really, if a person supports her after she's indicted, and they see that we're basically bankrupt, and they see what the town is going through, and they see the meetings that we have where we can't get in, and we see that the firemen, their health insurance is not being paid. When we see the police and public works, health insurance is not being paid. When we see all these things, and we see that she's never said, I'm sorry, maybe I could have done something different. You've never heard her say that, and you never will. It's always, everybody is a hater. Nobody hated that girl. Everybody tried to give her a chance, even people who didn't think she should have been in the seat. I mean, there are a lot of people that didn't like her, but it was like, hey, she's here. Let's do this. And every time we try to hold her accountable is, I'm black, y'all black, I'm a single mother. None of that stuff is. How many people do you know that were black single mothers?
me too.
So I'm not sure
So
the relevancy of that to
right, and
being the mayor.
if we're keeping it a buck, she's making herself a single mother. Her daughter's father is great.
Yes,
See, you need to be careful. I learned this when I lived in Aurora many, many, many lifetimes ago. In smaller areas, you have to be careful because folks know you a lot more. You don't have the anonymity that you have in Chicago.
Yes.
And even then, in your community, they still may know you. But in a space where there's only 21 plus thousand people, somebody knows you.
Absolutely.
And that's really it. All right. My second question before we go. What is the community looking for these last for the rest of 2024? Let's say it like that. What is community looking for?
So for me, I think the community is just looking for her to just step back, take a breath, let the board do their job, just get some transparency going on. I mean, because we know that basically we've been burned down to the ground. So allow us to heal and start to rebuild. And we know and she's got to know. I mean, she can play like she is happy and everything is great on camera and at these meetings and everything, but there is no way on God's green earth that girl, if she has any sense, can believe that there will be no repercussions for this. The residents are tired and we're not taking it. And leave us alone. Take your goon police department and put them in a corner.
Part B, because tell me about this goon police department.
The police department, and I shouldn't say all because some of them are great, but when, like you say, when we have these board meetings, you're violating people's civil rights and, you know, threatening to arrest people and putting them out and not letting them in and doing whatever she says. If something happened to me, I would not even want to go to the Dolton Police Department. In fact, something did happen to me. There was an online, more people were afraid for me than I was, but there was an online threat. The feds came to my house about it. And they even told me, have a police officer come to your house. Don't even go to that department and make a report. So when you have police officers that will pull people to the side, say, "Hey, you know, I'm just doing my job. I got to keep my job." Your job is not to obey a direct bad order.
Unfortunately, though, keeping it real, as they say, in a lot of cases, if you don't follow the game, you find yourself on the unemployment
Well, then
line.
be on the unemployment line because at the end of the day, you cannot do the wrong thing. You are supposed to protect the people, not her. She can get a private security firm to protect her. The Dolton Police Department are supposed to, they're supposed to protect the residents. I mean, she is, well, I guess she's a resident. So protect us, but you can't do things to us like how she blocked off a car show with the police and they knew it was the wrong thing to do and they did it anyways.
Has anyone contacted a civil rights attorney?
I have not.
That may be something to think about because when you're talking about violating civil rights, and typically it's not in this format necessarily, but civil rights are civil rights. And if you're not allowed to have them, then it may be time to look at it from, again, a legal standpoint
Mhm,
versus because this is playing out on the media stage.
mhm.
And that's cool, but that doesn't stop the process. So if there are injunctions, if there are orders, et cetera, put in place because someone legally went to court and showed where rights are being violated, then that's a different kick in the pants, because some people believe that any press, good or bad, is good enough. We're not about press, we're about preservation
Right.
of rights. So maybe your group,
Mhm,
the group of citizens that are concerned about Dolton,
mhm.
can look at it from that aspect.
Absolutely. And I will say that I haven't personally. I don't know if anybody has, but I will definitely ask that question because it's a great question to ask.
Are there any last statements you would like to make on behalf of yourselves as Village of Dolton residents? Because you all are not here just to play, you're here because you're concerned. So tell people that are watching that are in Dolton something that is encouraging, something that is uplifting, and when you need them to come out to the next meeting. When is the next town hall meeting?
Well, we really do need the residents to step out more. And we're starting to get a little bit of residents starting to come out, but we really need the residents to come out more and more. I think a lot of the residents are afraid, and a lot of them are older. So that's why. And then when you see how things play out with the meetings, why would they want to stand out there like that on their walkers for long periods of time? They rather just watch it from home, you know. But one thing I did want to bring up, this last meeting, they refused to let the CPA in to explain about our financial situation, and Tiffany and her team, they refused. He was out in the parking lot, and they refused to let him in.
That's
So
your certified public accountant?
yes, so it's very concerning that there's trying to hide. What are you hiding? It's like they're trying to cover up so much. They would not let the CPA into the meeting. He had to leave.
Miss Sherry?
So what I would like to see is, because I've been boots on the ground honestly since the day she was quote unquote inaugurated. We knew that she was going to be a problem, but I would like to see, we've got a lot of people that are actually helping us, and we are so grateful for the help, even for people who don't live in Dalton, because I get encouraging words. Thelma and I encourage each other all the time. We get those encouraging words, but people can be all over the place, and we really don't need that. And I'm always telling people, we're almost at the finish line. Let's just glide in peacefully, because one thing's for sure, two things for certain: she's gonna get indicted, and people can say whatever they want to say. Well, nothing's going to happen. And it's like comparing apples to oranges. You can't talk about what's going on in Harvey. You can't talk about what's going on in Chicago. Dalton is a whole different beast. And she's playing with fire, and she is so out there. Her protectors don't even know what to do with her, because they didn't think she was going to be this nuts. So she's out there and she's putting it out there. So that's the difference. That's the difference. Everybody else did their thing, behind closed doors, and they were a little more discreet. There's nothing discreet about her. And again, she'll be pissed off that we did this.
Well, again, this is the Quintessential Queen Show on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartRadio station, where your freedom of speech is protected. As long as you're not chewing gum or cursing, we're good.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to say this, and then we have to go. As a resident of Cook County, as a realtor in Illinois, and just as a human being, I would like to see the motto, and let me say it again: a community working together, reapplied to Dalton.
Yes.
Yes.
Because without that, it's no peace for
Yeah,
anybody.
you're right. And it's her, though, because the community is working together. She's working against the community.
If she's a part of the community, then she needs to be, because the mayor is supposed to be the figurehead for the community. And if that's not what this is, then it needs to be something else. And with that, this is your girl, Rhea Ray Harris Yarbrough, one of the two hosts of the Quintessential Queen Show, wishing you all peace and blessings in the name of Jesus. Thank you, ladies, for coming out here
Thank
and
you.
Thank
telling
you
the
for
truth
having
on
us.
Dalton.
Thank you.
And we are looking forward to a follow-up show in a few months to see what's changed.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Get your shine on. Get your glow up.